Live.
Yes. Yeah. Tim McKernan Show. Jackson Burkett, Tim McKernan with you. 18 people were waiting for us, Jackson.
Good.
You fumble fucking around, taking too long. Justin Sampson was ready. He said, yes. One of the questions, I haven't been doing a good job, fair assessment of reading the emails, because this emailer observes I get distracted by the YouTube comments, and then the next thing I know, we're gone. Let me see which one it is. Here it is. I think it's this one. Hey, Tim, couple. So I'm going right into it.
Wow. Yeah. No foreplay.
Here's the issue. Now we're gone. For the last 24 hours, I have been, I'm exaggerating, but for 4 of the last 24 hours, I have been working on connecting I guess it's the TMA _ STL Instagram account with a Facebook business account to integrate with Instagram's shop for our TMA merchandise and our new partnership with now friend of the program. I could wind up doing podcasts with you and him until I'm in the ground. Brett Knowles. I'm buying stock on starter packs, and we were on a call yesterday. It was a Zoom with me, him, and Mike Flanagan of our merchandise, which I guess it's a special treat for people. I'll unveil the merch, but I didn't. Jackson's wearing one of them right now. We got this blackout special at tmastl.com, but I didn't want to promote it today until I had the Instagram thing set up, and it is torturing me. But anyway, I said, "What's up, starter packs?" Because that's in my mind, that's what I call him. Mm-hmm. But then I'm like, oh, I wonder if that's like. He doesn't like that.
Sure.
Because Brett,
right,
really sharp guy, talented guy, distinct voice guy, a little Riz-esque. You notice that?
That's a guy.
Kind of like the gravelly.
But that's a good call. I didn't think about that. That's a good call.
I got more feedback on that podcast than, I don't know. I mean, the people, I had some of my wife's friends were at our son's birthday party over the weekend. They're like, I finally listened to you this week. Like they've known me for however long we've been together, 16 years.
3 hours of QFTA.
That doesn't sound like they listened to the Rogan QFTAs or TMA. Surprising.
It's a miss.
Nice-looking women in their 30s and 40s are not listening to TMA. That goes against what I thought the demo was, but I'll just consider them to be closet listeners. But of course, with starter packs, then that appealed to them, and they were fans of starter packs, not necessarily the giggling that goes on throughout, and that, of course, being you.
Yes, I'm sitting on a feather. I feel rappers talk about this a lot when they do they want people to call them by their rap name or by their real name or like?
What did they say on that? Because I've dealt with that in the porn world with my porn friends.
Yeah. Lil Dicky talks about that a lot.
What is their preference, baby? What is their preference?
It depends on the person. Like Lil Dicky is like Adam. He's like, just please call me Dave. Like, don't call me Dicky. That's weird. And some other people are, but other people are totally cool. Some people have more natural names, like Childish Gambino, whose real name is Donald Glover. Like people don't call him Gambino; they call him Donald.
Interesting. Donald. Now, my experience in the porn world is the exact opposite.
They prefer, but I feel like that's like to keep their government names safe.
Okay.
I feel maybe.
I don't know what Lisa Ann's real name is.
I have no idea. I
was just texting with her last week or 2 weeks ago. Friendly as all get out.
Always has been.
So I guess her. I say her name's Lisa Ann. It probably isn't. I have no fucking idea.
I'm sure it's Lisa. I'd be surprised if it wasn't Lisa.
Really?
I'd be like, wouldn't that be just kind of like a weird name just to pick? Like it's too normal of a name just to like pick. I don't know.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. And Caden Cross wrote for InsideSTL.com so many years ago.
All right.
She would answer questions.
Oh,
QFTA, original QFTA. And then after like a couple of months of guys just asking how they can convince their significant other to do anal, she's like, I don't know how many other ways I can answer the question. Right. But she got paid, and so she was on our payroll, and therefore I had her real name. Mm. And we were kind of buddies, for lack of a better term. And so then I called her by her real name, and I got the sense that she didn't like it. So then I reverted to Caden.
That's a tough one. That is a tough one. Yeah, I never know. Because some people have like a stage name that's similar to their real name, but maybe not entirely their real name, or like as like rap names. I don't know. I'm sure it's a case by case basis. Like, what do you call the Game? The rapper, the Game. Like, do you call him Game?
I haven't had a chance to sit down with him yet.
Right. Like, if you see T.I., you just call him Tip. What up, Tip?
Yeah, that's what I'd say sub Tip.
Sub Tip. Right. And he would get that. But, I don't know. Like, do you call it?
Jackson's street name. You call the Undertaker Taker. You don't call him Mark. That's from Justin Sampson.
I don't know I don't really know much about the Undertaker.
Wow, rough morning for you after the pronger forward thing.
I feel bad about that. I do not.
Do you really feel bad about it? For those of you who did not hear TMA this morning, Martin Kilcoyne booked Chris Pronger as the surprise guest. Great guest. Yeah. I'd been trying to get him on this podcast for a long time, and I had a similar experience. This was via DMs on Instagram. And he's like, "Oh, let me work on this." And I'm like, "Okay, I understand. I've been around. I know when a gentleman does not want to partake in an interview, right. I'll stand down." Sure. But Martin kept persisting, and then sure enough, and then once he's on, the non-link was texting me right now. He's got his Doug Armstrong's about to do a press conference here in about 22 minutes, and he's handicapping exactly what will be talked about. And he said Pronger was so good in so many different ways, but like how you play quality hockey. Yeah. When he does interviews, he does some good shit, but the guy's got to be in the mood for it. Anyway. They're good questions here, but I got to answer emails because I haven't been answering emails, and then people feel like, oh, why email in? You don't answer them anymore. So I got 4 I'm going to make sure I answer. Cool. All right. Hey, Tim, couple questions for QFTA. Anyway, I've been trying to integrate this fucking Facebook, Instagram thing.
Oh, yeah, back to it.
And I'm on tilt over it. I might have you sit next to me as I try to do it after we're done with this. So we're going in, we're going out. This is not... It's 11:39. We will not be doing this podcast at 12:15.
Oh, okay.
You want to bet? You know not to bet because I can control the outcome.
If there's money on the table, then no, I will not bet. But if it's just like a downloads agreement, then I'll take the over.
Okay, I respect that. I think that probably is the smart play, but I'm trying to get home and not be here all evening. All right. Hey, Tim, couple questions for QFTA. The first begins with one of the premises that when I throw it out there, you'll likely scoff at it and say I'm building a question off a false premise. I'm fine with that, so here it goes. The premise is that the overwhelming majority of the Qs discussed during QFTAs are from the YouTube chat, followed by the Facebook page, and then emails. I haven't been keeping stats, and honestly, with 3-hour episodes, I'm not willing to re-listen to them all to give you empirical data. That said, I get the sense that you get really distracted by the YouTube chat, tight read, and then go off on tangents and rabbit holes from there. Do you accept that premise? I like this. This is like a counselor. Yeah. The answer to that first question is yes, I do accept that premise 100%. If so, is there a reason? I'm easily distracted. That essentially has been the business model of TMA since 2004. Next question. Is it the quality of questions submitted via email versus those on the chat? Not at all. The questions via email are, and this isn't a shot at the YouTube chat because that's just more like a conversation. In a conversation, you don't ask an email that's yay long in a conversation. So the questions are better in the email. I just get distracted, and then I'm like, son of a bitch, it's 2.5 hours in, and I got poor Jackson here who's got other things to do. Can't do that. But the questions via email are great, and I think people also are more comfortable asking questions via email. Yeah. They won't get, I guess there's a mockery in some corners of the...
Yeah, I'm sure that goes on.
If you ask something publicly...
Yeah,
you see what I'm saying? So
right.
People ask some really good questions via email, but that's the thing. I haven't been answering them, so that's why I'm committed to making sure I answer. Is it the bright, shiny object that is the YouTube chat that catches your eye and attention? Yes. Then your natural ADD gets to you, and you take off from there. Yes. Tip of the cap. You thought that this was false premise. You literally hit everything on the head.
That was the answer.
Second question, what's the reference to gift cards that keep popping up during TMA? This is an outstanding email.
Yeah, fantastic.
Typically, it's Martin while going into what I think is an impersonation of John Hadley. You seem to respond in a knowing way. Well, I know what the impression is. I think I might have said this to you off air. I don't really remember the gift card thing.
I agreed. But I
just find it funny.
Right.
Just like I find it funny when he does an impression of my dad that sounds nothing like my dad, but I'm amused by the character of it. The impression of Hadley, which is essentially Carl Spackler from Caddyshack.
Very similar.
and that's been going on for decades when people would do the impression of John Hadley. The gift cards thing, I didn't deal with it, so I don't really know. And Martin, I don't feel like was there
For long enough
to deal with it. But I don't know. Maybe there was something that happened with gift cards that I'm not aware of.
I certainly wasn't there for long enough, but I was there for some part of the time. And like if someone told me something about some gift card deal, it wouldn't surprise me. Therefore, I find it funny. Like it's almost like a new wrinkle added to the lore, which I find to be outstanding. Yeah.
I need to ask Martin about it.
Yeah, I do too.
Because I just like enjoy the impression, but then we're in the middle of the show, so I don't stop and go, hey.
Yeah, it's tough to get like a glossary definition kind of thing, but I am curious too.
Going back to the email, you seem to respond in a knowing way. But for all the TMA that I listen to, I PLTD every minute, but I'm not always 100% locked in. It can sometimes become background noise while I work. I don't recall this reference being explicitly addressed. It's beginning to sound like an inside joke that only a host No, I'm one of the hosts, and I don't know it. And I'm only guessing it's a shot at Hadley. Martin is on the record as not being a fan of John Hadley's. I realize it could be a delicate situation in that you don't want to get into a hashtag radio wars, but can you explain the whole gift cards reference? I would if I could.
Yeah. We'll report back next week.
Yeah, I mean, but I'll be curious, like, what the detail of it was, because I'm sure there's a hell of a story behind it.
I hope so. I really hope there's.
I'm trying to think of. I guess what he's saying is people got paid in gift cards.
See, that's what I'm saying. Is it wouldn't surprise me.
Then the implied thing is that they'd be like a gift card for $100, and then the person would go to cash it in, and they'd have like a $90 bill, and they'd be told by the waiter there's only $40 left on it. That's the storyline that Martin has built when he does.
I like the idea though of handing somebody a gift card and saying it's $100, but there's only $73.82 left on it, but that'll be plenty, big boy. I kind of like that, like preemptively telling the person. Good question though.
God bless America. Yeah, outstanding. Tip of the cap. That's from Micah, who I believe has been a guest on the program.
Yes, that question was like, did you ever have this as a kid, the Build Your Own Adventure books?
Yes, of course.
Yeah, you go flip, and then if you didn't like the start of the adventure, you like pretend like, oh, never mind, I'm going to go back to the page and go to the other direction.
Absolutely.
Love those.
It's like when I'm watching a stag scene, and all of a sudden the girl who I'm really into starts eating the guy's ass, and I'm out.
Yeah. You know, they did that as a, when I say that, and you just talked about analingus, they did like the Build Your Own Adventure books as a Netflix movie.
All right.
Black Mirror did it, yeah. It's called, I can't remember the name of it. It did not work as well as, it was a good idea, poor execution.
All right, next one. We got one titled Yola.
Nice.
And this one's a question about St. Louis private schools and your background.
Okay. Interested in both.
This is what's going to happen here, Jackson. 'Cause I'm seeing what our experience was with Balloon Party. We show up there, all hell breaks. Can you take yourself back to January 2022?
Yes.
You can, okay. Mm-hmm. When we started here at Hubbard, and then you and I started with Balloon Party, and it's the same thing that we got to relive. Now we're 3 months in, as a matter of fact, of TMAN 101, of what the fuck is this? You guys fucking suck. I hate you. Where's Dan?
Yeah.
You're a fucking joke.
Yep.
Because I hadn't really listened to 101, honestly, so I didn't really know what the format was, and I just did what we had done forever. And then I noticed the YouTube numbers going up, and then I noticed that it became in the text inbox, okay, I hated you guys at first, but now I kind of get it. And then it would be people would then cross over and send emails into QFTA. That is the kind of the cycle, and now we're experiencing that with our second time around with this, and that's what we have with this one. Happy Friday, Tim. I am a new loyal listener to TMA as of a few weeks ago. I love the ease of access to the show, YouTube, radio, podcast app, and just overall find the radio show so entertaining. I grew up, and outside of my stint living in Columbia, Missouri at Mizzou, still live in the metro east suburbs of St. Louis. I went to all public schools and have almost no interaction or experience with the structure of the St. Louis private school industry, besides a couple run-ins with CBC, Vianney, DeSmet on the baseball diamond. My dad went to Normandy High School in the late 1960s, and my mom grew up in Granite City. To this point, almost all of my knowledge on the topic I have received from TMA and the Tim McKernan Show about these schools and their stereotypes, etc., which, although I'm sort of unfamiliar with, I still find funny. So just a question. I heard you referencing you growing up, quote unquote, poor on one of the Tim McKernan shows. I gotta write.
Yeah, right there.
That is if I said, I can't imagine I said that. I mean, I wouldn't say
Well,
that.
if you did it, it would be like totally in jest.
Yeah, I think I see where this. Let me continue reading because I think now you catch it. You were talking about your days at prom and how you sometimes put pucks on net, quote unquote, on women that went to some private schools that may have been too upper echelon because you bust tables, etc. Yes. So to be clear, there is a difference between being middle class, which I think would be fair to say that I grew up. I don't fucking know. And girls at Villa and Visitation, then Burroughs MICDS.
Well, yeah, that's a,
Am I missing any?
that's the big ones. Yeah. Yeah, that's the ones.
Okay, all right. So there's, you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like that's what I'm trying to establish, which I would imagine. I hope I'm just communicating it properly.
Right. Yes, that is accurate.
Okay. So, I mean, you're talking about some of those are private school. All of them are private schools, I guess. Yeah, all of them are private schools. But then, there are also other places in the area that are private schools, but there's different tiers, I guess, is what I'm attempting to say. All right, so that's what I was trying to say. I absolutely never said I grew up poor. But you went to St. Louis University High School, correct? I was looking up the yearly tuition at various schools for reference, and I saw that SLU is at least upper half or most $16,000 per year. Now, granted, you went 30 years ago. Is that what I did? Yeah, I guess 30 years ago. If you were quote-unquote poor, how and why did you go to SLU? Were the public schools that bad? It seems like you're not too poor if you're spending so much electively on high school education. Is this just a bit, perhaps, playing off that SLU has a much lower reputation than some of the elites? That you were actually not poor, but seemed poor in comparison to the elite of the elite? Okay, well, tip of the cap. It kind of answered the question on his own. Just curious about that situation. Thanks for everything. Didn't give the name, but I see the name. Thank you. God bless. All right, so I'll go one by one. St. Louis U High's tuition. How about this? What do you think the tuition was when I started there in 1990? Ladies and gentlemen, Jackson Burkett.
$5,000 a year.
2,500.
2,500. Oh, half that.
I think when my dad went to CBC, I feel like it was in the hundreds.
That would be, that's scale-wise, yeah, that makes sense.
So yes, it was a much different set of circumstances. So yes, and when I do talk about, I talk about South City, and I still probably think this holds true today, that if you're bussing tables at Pietro's, which still exists, and you're from South City, and you're driving your parents' minivan, you are not going to be able to take a Villa girl or MICDS girl, Burroughs girl to prom.
It's going to be an uphill battle.
Yeah. I mean, I stand by that. Yeah. Some things change, some things stay the same. So that's what I was trying to say. Yeah. As far as just specific to a more big picture conversation on St. Louis high schools, I, for years, have been saying the bubble will burst because at some point people go, okay, this is just too much. Mm-hmm. But it seems like we haven't reached that point, and I'm in awe of the whole thing.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I don't know. I'm beyond surprised by it. And now I guess some places enrollments are down relative to what they used to be. So maybe that will lead to some places eventually closing. I don't know.
Right.
But I don't know how people are able to spend upwards of $20,000 a year on high school and then also do college and then have multiple kids. I guess families aren't as large as they used to be, so that perhaps can play a role into it. But
yeah, I truly don't. I just don't see. So I don't see St. Louis private schools going away.
Oh, hell no.
No, I think it'll always.
And also specific to, I already deleted the email, but when you grew up in the city, it's a different situation. And I can't fault people for not knowing this. This is one of the issues with the city of St. Louis. Your public education options, I would have been a Roosevelt Rough Rider. Mm-hmm. I don't know how well I would have done there in the hallways at Roosevelt. I don't know if I would have played well, so to speak.
You never know, but I wouldn't assume.
So therefore, in my class at St. Gabriel, the vast majority of the 50 kids who were in my class went to DeBerg. I would say probably 30 to 35 of the kids, 30, I would guess, kids went to DeBerg. There were only 2 other kids who went to St. Louis U High. I feel like there were a few CBCs.
Like a couple of Vianney's.
A few Vianney's. The girls were Coriezu if they didn't go to DeBerg. Maybe a couple Notre Dames and Rosati Canes.
Sure.
St. Elizabeth. I think some of those don't exist anymore.
I've never heard of St. Elizabeth.
Yeah, I think that's gone now.
Okay.
But I mean, it's also kind of neighborhood by neighborhood. You know, you're not going to have a whole lot of people from the neighborhood I grew up in, 63109, traverse to St. Joe's or Visitation or Villa. And then usually, if you are able to afford that, you're probably not going to be in certain areas of the community. But specific to living in the city, and I get how people, because to me, this is all we knew. But if you're anywhere else in the metropolitan area, you go, why does everybody go to a private school if you live in the city? And there's your explanation. Yeah. One of the indications that this region will have been in the process of making progress will be if and when the time comes where people can live in the city and also feel good about going to a public school.
Yeah. Yep. I agree wholeheartedly.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, next question. Tim, have you ever talked on QFTA about payola? The title of the question is Yola.
That's right.
Recently, it seemed like you were getting on Vitali about talking about companies that he shopped at, and you kept joking about Yola. He even apologized for it later on the show. More recently, you're asking people you interview where they like to go to eat when they're in town, and seems like you and the group ran off places like Chuck's Hot Chicken, big fan, and The Village, big fan, for their crinky cut fries. My question is, when is it okay to talk in random conversation about places you like, and when is it payola? Maybe I'm a quote-unquote dumb for asking this question. I'm just interested in how these types of things work. That's from Just Tim. It's a nice question. Whew, I'm just fucking around with Joey Vitale, certainly, and any other time that it's weaved in on 101, we're joking because, Jackson, what is the song where that comes from?
It's Payola by Migos. Yola. Payola.
But I'll tell you what, in a way, in broadcast contracts, I would draw an analogy to the no gambling rule in baseball. It's one of the most serious things in broadcast contracts. I feel like, most of these contracts, are fine print, super small font, pages and pages and pages. But then you get to the thing about the plugola and payola.
Yeah.
And I guess payola would be getting money for it, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, and I think that deals more with like playing songs. Plugola would be more like what we're dealing with.
Okay. It's like in big, bold letters, big font.
Yeah, right.
It's like the no gambling thing in baseball. So, I guess it would be, if like The Village, let's use that as an example, which has been an advertiser before, said, hey, we're not going to pay, but every time you come in, your meal's going to be on us if you shout us out a few times.
Right. Yeah. There has to be some sort of personal gain you're getting from it.
And it's just, it's just, you just absolutely cannot do it. You cannot do it. Yeah. In some of our previous stops, I believe there were participants not on TMA, and it became an issue with sales departments, oftentimes involving restaurants.
Yeah.
But it's a good question because, like, what's so if I were not paying when I went, just using The Village, just because it was cited here, and I do go in there, and I was comped every time I went in there, and they said, hey, we're not going to buy advertising, but, you come in here anytime, your drinks and your food's on us. That would be, I believe that's payola. I don't know.
Yes, I believe, and I
just know not to get, you just don't dance with that devil.
Right. I'm not naming any names or saying,
Jackson's about to go.
No, but I'm saying that, like, I don't even think that it was, like, malicious in their intent, but there's been times where, like, jokingly you go to the place and they know you from the show and they're like, hey, give us a shot at this, that, and you're like, well, yeah, but you, like, know in the back of your head, like, what they just suggested was some, like, even suggested is even a strong word, joked about would be plugola. So you just know. You got to know these things, and what do they say, no such thing as a free lunch? Exactly.
Yeah, I agree with that. All right, let's see what we got here. Tim, to what extent, if any, has the social media bullshit, specifically the uninformed comments and conjecture from the people who have zero clue what they're talking about on the TMA fan page, on the TMA Reddit, on YouTube, and other drama with Uber sads caused you to consider cashing in your chips sooner than you anticipated on TMA and saying, fuck it, I'm out. It's been a great 20-plus year run. I'm going to go do something else, end quote. I can only speak from what I hear on QFTA, but to me, you seem much more frustrated lately. Does that come off that way? That's disappointing if that's the case.
I haven't.
I mean, it's one person writing in, but I don't feel that way.
It's I am a bad.
But you're in here with me.
I know, and that's why I'm saying
Okay.
I'm like not because I know you're not.
Right. I get it. But yeah, okay. So I get what you're saying. I mean, okay. I'll keep reading the email. In my career, I have had isolated situations at work where I get frustrated with people wishing they would just call or email me rather than seeking info from someone else. I can't imagine dealing with this at the frequency you do. To that end, I cannot seem to understand why the Uber sads listen if they dislike the show. Would you ever consider deleting the fan page and disabling the chat in the YouTube if it helped reduce the drama? Totally get it if you'd rather not air this on QFTA, but just know that for me, TMA and all its iterations has brought me some laughs in my life since I started listening in 2007. Ooh, that was a rough time to start listening. Although I guess maybe if you listened when it was TMA with Doug, the cat, producer Joe in 2007, because 2007 was the Fesco.
Yeah.
Pivot
year.
Yeah, there was a pivot. That's exactly what it was. Started listening in 2007 and helped me shrug off some bad shit during COVID. Thank you, sir. That's from Jason. I didn't, like, specific to, he lists the fan page, the Reddit, the YouTube. I didn't think that the YouTube was a problem.
I haven't noticed it being a problem.
But I have it up throughout
Yeah.
the show. I'm not talking about this show, although I don't have it up right now because I have my email up, but I don't think the YouTube's a problem. Is it?
I've never seen it.
But you're busier than shit too.
Yeah.
I didn't think the YouTube was a problem. I thought the YouTube's like an indication of the show's.
I don't view it that way. I never
traction.
have. I mean, I'm sure there's a narrative, like some bullshit goes on, like isolated.
Yeah, I didn't. So that surprises me. But then again, it could be a place where people say things, and I'm just not aware of it. And that's the same thing on the Reddit. I just don't read it. And now Chairman Kurt doesn't even read it. And he was kind of my, like when we would get a question about social media, I know that he's on it more than me, you, Martin, and Doug
For sure.
combined. And so I'd be able to kind of get an idea of.
So a guy in the crow's nest.
Right. So I could like understand what's being said. So I can't speak to that. The fan page, I'm not really on that all that often. I'm on it here and there, but I don't read every thread. We did talk about a month or so ago about the possibility of either getting a moderator for it because we're not on it, and then if it gets to a point where they shut it down or they remove posts, which I guess is going on right now. I think Injun Joe's Cave Ride Magic Man is in a Facebook timeout, I believe, and I don't even know what caused it.
He takes a lot of pictures of his crotch. Now
That's
it's
what it
clothed.
was?
It's khakied usually.
Todd.
But he does take a lot of pictures of his crotch.
So that would be the reason to moderate. The Jason asks, would you ever consider deleting the fan page and disabling chat and YouTube if it helped reduce the drama? I think the Riz show
they did.
did. Okay, they did. All right.
I don't think that I think it's now back up. I think for a little bit.
Okay, but I don't. But again, maybe this is a different. Maybe there's a different YouTube chat. I don't know. I guess I can go into our YouTube chat right now and see if anybody's talking about it. Let's see. The Riz, they're talking about the Riz show had to shut down their YouTube chat for a while, but ours I don't think's a problem.
No, I haven't noticed it.
But I don't mean we don't go into the 101 ESPN one.
That's true.
So maybe that's it. But I mean, that's not. No. Are you familiar with the Pearl Jam song "This Is Not for You"?
You've talked about before, so yes.
That's not who I play to.
Right.
If I were to go speak at the 700 Club's prayer breakfast, I'd be disappointed if I walked out of there and they're like, boy, I'm on board with this guy. I'm not for everybody, and I'm not trying to be for everybody. So that's fine if you don't like it. That's kind of the gig.
I'm titling this episode 700 Club's Prayer Breakfast.
Now I got to read something vile.
I've never heard anything called a prayer breakfast before, but
this exists.
I want to show up.
Let's see. What I was about to say was it would, if I deleted it, it would increase drama.
Yes. Yeah.
It would increase drama.
That's
and then God only knows what the conspiracy theories behind it would be. Right. I'm always kind of amazed by those. I thought we were going to have a good. Micah was the first emailer in, and he sent an email in. I don't know, what was that, you think? Less than a year ago or so, something like that.
Yeah.
And he sent it, and he acknowledged this from a, I don't want to call it a burner email, but he wasn't using his name initially, but he was so detailed. I'm like, this guy's got to be active in one of the TMA social media platforms, for lack of a better term. And I said, hey, some of the things you're saying, I think I said this, I mean, I know I wanted to have a conversation with him. Are not accurate, but I don't want to get in an email tit for tat thing, because I want you to be able to hear my vocal tone. I want to be able to hear yours, and I want to understand where you're getting some of this from. And then I want you to be able to ask whatever you want, free reign. And to his credit, he did it, and we had a good conversation. Last week I had I don't even know how to describe it. But to the gentleman's credit, he used his name. Now he was insulting from the get-go. And it was kind of funny because it was so clearly, in my opinion, from one of the places that Jason's referencing. I don't know which one, but clearly like a place where people come up with things that I know, I just know are not accurate, and I'd actually be able to prove. Right. And so I said, hey, I was thinking, this will be like Micah. Let's have a conversation about it. And I said, would you like to come on QFTA? And then it just became, I'm not coming on QFTA. You got to be,
Is this the one you forwarded me?
Yes. Yeah. And then I showed Chairman Kurt, who usually doesn't kind of see this stuff, you and me, and he goes, oh, that one checks some of the, boxes of, that might not be. But I'm like, but it's fine. It's a phone conversation. Sure. It's like, hey, sit down in the studio, and if we got a situation, it's a dangerous situation. Yeah, right. It's a phone conversation. But I welcome that. How about this? This is going to fuck you up.
All right.
It's going to fuck up some of our listeners and viewers, too. Couldn't believe it when I saw it. And I know you're not real high on this guy. And I think he's probably experiencing a downturn in popularity. Bill Maher. Mm-hmm. You're not high on him. Do you think he grifts?
No, I just think he's opportunistic.
Really? Expound, if you would.
I think he understands.
I have a point. I'm hoping to God I circle back to give my point, though. It might not ever happen.
I don't like this middle defense guy. Boy,
I don't think he's middle of the fence.
I think he like the idea of I call them out. I call that. It's like you ignore certain things so you don't get this side too upset, and you ignore certain things so you don't get that side too upset.
He gets them both upset.
Yeah, but I think
he's more alienated people on the left.
To be fair, over the last year, I haven't watched a single thing he's done. So it's not fair.
One of the things that I will do on Friday night outside of fall asleep by 9:15. Sure. I mean, this is hot. This shit is hot, brother. Okay, you're gonna get a little taste of this down in Florida.
All right.
Me going to bed at 9:15.
I have seen that.
And that is. I look forward to watching that show with my wife. The kids are asleep. I mean, this is where it is. This is where it is, Jackson. Mm-hmm. I'm just telling you, if you want to look into the future. Mm-hmm. Now, hopefully you can run good like I did in my 30s, but this 40s. We'll watch Real Time with Bill Maher. Sure. New season. And they started off, and Stephen A. Smith is on the panel. And I go, oh, fuck me.
Was he with Mad Dog?
No.
I saw he was on Howard Stern.
He was on Stern with Mad Dog. Feel like Stern, I could be off the mark on this, but is a guy who's shot, he's shot 80 and he's got a whole left and is just going, okay, I gotta wrap this up. I mean, how many times have Stephen A. Smith and Mad Dog been on in the last 6 months? I feel like they're just like regulars at this point. I mean,
when you have a recreation of your studio in your home, I think that's I'm
let me tell you something. If that happens for me, I'll be more enthused than ever before. But with that all established, I saw that. I go, oh fuck, what is this?
Right.
And Stephen, he just, it was like talking points, but he's such a good speaker, and he's able to, if you don't know better,
Right. You can be kind of persuaded or
yes,
or
absolutely. And so the audience is like, oh,
right.
and I'm just like, he didn't say anything, you know,
Yeah.
he didn't say anything, and I'm like, what is he doing here anyway, you know?
Right.
He's next to a representative from California who's handling the Silicon Valley district and you know, the billionaires who have all switched to being supporters of Trump. Very interesting perspective, and then you just got like talking points, but kind of like said in a way that is
makes good for good New York Post headlines.
Yes, nicely done, very nicely done. So that was disappointing. Now here's one. I'm gonna fuck you up. I'm gonna fuck you up.
Fuck me up.
He has a podcast. Usually it gets sent to me on Sunday afternoons, about 2:00. And I would imagine you would consider this to be grifting central. Like some of the people he has on, I guess, a podcast network.
Okay, gotcha.
But his guest this week, Matt Gaetz.
Oh, God, really?
And I'm like, and I immediately went to go, okay. And then I go, hold on, I got to listen to this.
Yeah, what does he have to say?
And and here's the thing. So I'm midway through. There are sometimes these it's like Martin keeps talking about the Rod Blagojevich like 4-hour interview on Rogan, and he can't get through it. He's tried so many times.
I have to miss that one.
I can't tell you how many times it happens. Probably twice a month, where there's a podcast that I just cannot get enough of, and this is actually that
the Gaetz.
Because I don't know if I've ever heard the man. I have to look inward. I'm not saying, boy, this Matt Gaetz, that's not where but when you hear, and he's like, yeah, it's just not true. And then if you look this up, you will see it's actually not true. And it's been reported, but then it gets into how, because I'll notice this in particular when you guys send New York Post articles. I mean, that's one of the most obvious ones where the get out of jail free card is, we're not lying, they just don't include important facts that would change the whole premise. Or they end the article in a way that finishes it off to essentially, like, if they're presenting a closing argument in court, so I see as a victim of headlines, you know, I know the game in my little world. And so, and right out of the gate, God, it was outstanding. And I thought to myself, oh, this is kind of the Bill Maher living our existence. Matt Gaetz, like, it's within the first 5 minutes. It's so good. He goes, well, I used to watch, what was the fucking thing? Politically Incorrect. And he goes, which was a much better show than your current show. And, you know, with some guests or some hosts, you just kind of like let it go. But Bill Maher, who I think he's definitely smoking weed throughout. I don't know if he fucks with booze or not, but he's banty.
Yeah.
And he goes, now hold on. Like, you want to sit down and have a conversation, and you're going to say, first off, it's not true. Second, I would have like Pauly Shore debating like a senator, and you're going to tell me that's a better show? That says more about you than it does about the show. This is a much better show. But it's like that right away. So it's not like it's like a friendly thing, but it's more of like an honest conversation, which is kind of what I wanted to have with this guy who's clearly in that TMA, wherever it may be, bubble of misinformation. But if you're only in the bubble, then it becomes the truth, because nobody's there to say, hey, that's not accurate. Or if I can say, hey, here is proof that what you're saying is not accurate. He's like, you answer these 5 questions. And I'm like, I said I'd do it. Come on the podcast. You can ask me 100 questions. I'll answer them all. And then he's like, you're, you know, whatever, big name calling. And then I'm just like, okay, well, Chairman Kurt was right. But I like that Pete Buttigieg would go on Fox News.
Right.
What do you think of that?
Yeah, I think if you're going to be a politician, you have to work with both sides.
But I like that. I like that J.D. Vance would go on Meet the Press, and this is before he was selected as the vice presidential nominee. I like that Bill Maher had Matt Gaetz on, you know? And so then I sit there and I go, okay, then I am willing to have somebody who clearly doesn't like me. Now I was saying, no, I like you. I just don't put you on a pedestal. I'm like, why I ask to be put on a pedestal? You know, I'm just like, you're saying things that are factually inaccurate, but as opposed to me, like, I've been through, I don't do this. I don't argue online. Let's have a conversation. And maybe you'll still be convinced that I'm lying. And if you want to do that, I guess I could be hooked up to a lie detector. But let's have a conversation. I like that. And that's the thing that somebody emailed me presenting the other side of the Marcus Freeman field goal thing, Notre Dame, Ohio State. And he said, I just read that you actually enjoy having conversations with people that you disagree with, sometimes more than you agree with. And he goes, so I want to lay out my reason. This guy went to Notre Dame. And I'm like, I appreciate it. I said, here's my reason. It's math, not to relitigate that. Point being, I enjoy that. And then I was like, God, do I offer this guy money? You know, but I've done that before.
Yeah. A lot, like a good amount.
Yeah, I don't even know where I am now. I think I'm at 250 or 500.
250,
and I still don't get emails. What does that say? All right, so there we go. There is, but anyway, to answer the question, I'm so conscious that it's 12:12 and I want to land the plane.
I'm cool. I'm hanging out.
I know, but I got to go back to trying to fucking hook up my Instagram and Facebook account to Shopify. I lost my shit last night when we were driving to the Blues game.
Really?
My 3-year-old son, his birthday, now 3, and my older son, for whatever reason, loves the Canucks sweater.
That's right. You've told me about that.
And I got him an Elias Pettersson Canucks sweater last year.
Sure. Betsy. You could have said any name there. I would have bought it. Except maybe Matt Gates. I would have sniffed that one out.
I got him a Matt Gates Canucks sweater. Can you imagine?
That would be.
And I'm like, hey, you going to wear it? Because I think last year when we were going to go to a game, he's like, well, I said, oh, look at these guys wearing the wrong sweater. So in his mind, he's like, I don't want to be that guy.
Right.
And I'm like, he goes, well, maybe I'll wear the sweater and then a Blues hat. I said, wear whatever the hell you want to do. So like the Canucks score a couple minutes in and he's clapping. He goes, I'm going to clap for both teams. And I go, okay, whatever.
Rob Lowe.
Right.
In the NFL hat.
But anyway, we're driving along. I told my wife, like she was so, and she had every right to be pissed. And I'm like, I lost my shit. I mean, it wasn't like I'm like throwing stuff, but I'm like, how did we get from, I'm picturing where we're geographically to like from here to here, and I'm gone. And I'm like, and I'm sitting there, I'm not trying to explain it because there's no justification. It's on me. Yeah. Like sometimes I'll tell her, I'm like, you got to own this. It doesn't work that way, but I'll call it that. And this 100% on me. And I'm like, how the fuck did that happen? And I swear to God, it goes back to trying to integrate Instagram and Shopify.
There's
and that's awful that my fuse was that fucking, like that fucks me up. Yeah. Like when I was in my 20s, like the guy you might have heard if you listen to The Morning Grind, that motherfucker, God only knows. This guy, it doesn't happen. That's what my wife said. She goes, I mean, that hasn't happened in a long time. I'm going, yeah, like maybe like well before our kids were born. I'm like, what the fuck was that? What the fuck? And I'm just trying to integrate Instagram and Facebook into Shopify. So I can peek for this blackout thing that Mike Flanagan's put together for the merch. And you're wearing this hat.
Yeah.
This is a sharp look.
Telling me. Come on now.
Then you got the anyone but Chiefs thing.
Yep.
Boy, my comments on Instagram, because I guess I'm collaborating with starter packs.
Yeah.
So I got guys arguing with each other over the Chiefs. Yeah. Women get really worked up about it too.
True, yeah.
So now I got women following me to like hate message me about the Chiefs.
You've tapped into the Swiftie. This is like when I said that Destin was better than Lake of the Ozarks. I mean, my mentions were flooded for like a month after.
All right, the over's covered. But I'm not going much longer. I'm telling you.
But if there was a and I'm not talking like
it could have been $5.
It could have been $1
just to win.
It could have been $1 American dollar.
Well, that's like when you were my member guest partner, and the guys like when we were down like 3. Yeah. With like 3 holes left, and they needed more points, and I'm like, come on, let's do $10, just $10 a hole. Yeah. And then I think I went birdie part birdie, and he's like, fuck. Yeah. He's like, I should have never, like, why'd I do that? Because that got you dialed in. Otherwise, you would have just fucked off and like said, I'm picking up. And that's the honest to God truth. Yeah. So now he's got like the word out. Don't bet with him because he'll, no matter what. And then this is a Travis Matthew. These are sharp
That
looks.
might be the sharpest one that's ever been in circulation.
So I would love to do for the Tim McKernan show listeners like some kind of promo, honestly. But I don't know what the margins are on things, which again speaks to this asshole can't integrate Instagram and Shopify. I should be voted out as the
Of your own.
yeah the business I now own 100% of.
Who would do that? Your children?
Yeah.
I get your heirs?
They could do a better job.
Is it like Succession?
What else we
Bear
got?
hug?
Yeah.
Proxy battle with your 7-year-old son?
My 7-year-old son cheering for both the Canucks and the Blues.
Yeah.
Got this hoodie now. Blackout. It's at
That's fire.
tmastl.com.
Yeah.
And then the one that you're wearing, which is, what do they call
These
that?
are
That's
like,
dry fit.
Yeah, it's like a thinner, this is what you wear when you're playing golf, and you tee off at 7, 10.
Nice.
There's a little chill in the air, just a little nip, and then right around the 5th hole, sun's fully out, peel this bad boy off, fits in your bag real easy. Great little thing to have on the course. Having the is good bonfire wear, you know.
You do a lot of bonfires.
I've bonfired before. Yeah,
Oh.
I like a fire.
Is that right?
Sure.
Well, look at you.
Sure. I mean, you smell like a bonfire for like the next
I don't
week.
mind that, though. I don't mind it,
but it does get a little bit like, all right, it's enough.
All right. I haven't read any of the YouTube but how many
It's in
emails are
there.
there? 4 or 5?
You did 4, which is what you set out to do.
And there's a really good one. Because last week or 2 weeks ago, I asked the question, why was it people were asking Jesse Kiowski things about the show, and then like 3 or 4 years ago, people were asking Jay Randolph Jr. things about what I was going to do with my contract. Mm-hmm. And I thought to myself, why don't people ask me?
Why?
This gentleman sent in an email explaining it. See what you think about this.
All right.
Hey, Tim, I was listening to the last QFTA. I think this was sent on the 17th, though. So it ties into the previous email. But it was, would this have been last week's QFTA? Fuck, I don't know.
No, not the 17th.
I was listening to the last QFTA, and it got me thinking. So I thought I would email you some thoughts. But first, who is Dan Beal?
I don't even know.
I have no idea.
I have no.
Didn't we meet him at the thing at Hot Shots?
I met the person who claimed to be Dan.
Yeah, and you don't think that was what it was? Or who it was?
The vetting process seemed, he was just like,
Well,
I'm
he
Dan.
had a nip.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He was like a drunk guy. He was like, I'm Dan Beal. I was like, I might need more than that.
Yeah, because we've never heard his voice. He just emails in.
Right.
He's a listener who has a deal. When I would work with Rich Gould, he didn't say his name's Rich Gould. He'd say Rich Gould, so I did that with Dan Beal.
Right.
And any other time I can kind of do that. Rich Gould.
Where does Martin come from?
Producer Joe, even when he was fresh off of cutting lawns in Atlanta, came up to work with 3 guys. I mean, at that point, I was really early in my career, but the Cat and Martin had been working for a while. And so they're established. And Joe, to his credit, condescending prick in 2004, condescending prick in 2025. It's great. It's like when I was trying to get Theismann on the morning of one of the Notre Dame games, and he's like, yeah, with the snow, I don't have time to work on this for you. And I'm like, oh, I want to call him the name the lady got called up at the Eagles-Packers game.
Right.
But I feel like that might be a bridge too far even on this.
Yeah, you can describe something as that, but not somebody as that.
But that's what it was.
Sure.
And but I enjoy that.
Yeah.
Like I'm glad like my 7-year-old's now kind of getting comfortable with busting balls.
Sure.
It's a good thing. I go busting balls, and like 2 years ago he'd start weeping. I go, oh fuck. I'm busting balls. That's what guys do. This is part of the deal. And now he calls out my baldness. And I'm like, listen, this is what I used to do this with my dad. Be careful what you wish for here. So with that said, that's where the Dan Beal thing comes from, just a random listener. On to the real stuff. I think more people don't reach out to you because they feel you'll just lie to them. I got to tell you, like, at this point, I don't think anyway, I have a lot of sensitive spots. Yeah. That bothers me. I hate that. And I guess it's because, like, the only moral compass I have is be honest with the audience. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so then for that to be, like, the thought process, that cuts me. This is not a you problem. Listeners who are unhappy with show changes already have a narrative in their minds and basically want you to confirm it. When you tell them the real story, it's quote-unquote fake news because it doesn't fit what they already believe. Look at the political scene right now, and it's the same idea. That's not a statement against either side. I look at the recent layoff at Hubbard involving Iggy as an example. Reddit went wild with theories and statements about how you knew all along and did nothing to save his job or defend him because it benefited you. I got to stop right here. Now, number one, it's 100% false. I know you know that, but people could say, "Oh, Jackson's just saying that to."
Right. Or the apparatus.
Number two, how would I have known about it, but Jackson and Doug not known about it? Number three, the way that things went, I knew about them being interested in changing the cast on March 13th. I can remember it because I was just like, oh, fuck. I'm making a case for the group because the Plowhawk was still a part of it. And it's just, it's not where they want the show to go. And so if we're going to stay at Hubbard, this is so, yeah, I did know about it for 7 months. Guess what went on for 7 months? Me, once the Plowhawk left on his own accord, me fighting for Iggy's job. And I'm not done there, by the way. That's
Kobe Bryant job's not finished.
Thank you very much. So who knows how it would go on, whether it be him working with me at Sound Story or some other concoction. Who knows? I don't know. But I felt, and still do, otherwise I wouldn't be speaking in present tense, strongly about his importance to the show.
Agreed.
I also get where Hubbard's coming from, if they want us on 101 ESPN, that Iggy isn't really like a sports guy, and they wanted a sports guy there. But my whole thing was, I'm not saying anything out of school because I said it over and over again, if you're going to go with what we wound up going with me, you, Doug, and Martin, having Iggy sitting where Chairman Kurt is, which isn't a shot at Chairman Kurt. Chairman Kurt is a Sound Story employee, which I guess at this point people know, but maybe people think he's, I don't know. But that's his full-time gig, does a great job. That with Martin especially roasting people the way he does, having Iggy there, it's a great foil. That was always my mindset on it. But this gets into probably where I'm risking going into too much information, and it's not a Hubbard thing. This is a government, for lack of a better term, thing that factored into it. And I understand that because it was something that I couldn't overcome with, even if I were to do what I did with Darren, which was, got to hire this guy. Dude, this is going back to 2021. Mm-hmm. We've already submitted the budgets to corporate. This is November of 2021, December of 2021. Yeah. We've already submitted the budgets. You already have, what, me, you, Jackson, me, you, Iggy, and Doug.
Yeah.
And the plan was to have the cat. And then the plan was to have the Plowhawk. That was the chronological order, but we were going to be the four from the get-go. The Riz show is this monster show, and they have 5 people on it. And they're going, let's just, because they didn't know how much money was going to come over with us. Now, I was very confident. Maybe I shouldn't have been as confident as I was. So Tommy's whole thing was, once you guys are in and we see if the money comes over, then we can talk about adding the cat. Well, then the cat got the opportunity at KFNS. It was a sure thing. And he wanted to take the sure thing. Don't blame him. I'm in the process of trying to work on the cat's potential involvement with me and Martin talking about it, and with the cat involvement with TMA this upcoming baseball season. We'll see what happens with that. But at the time, that was the deal. Totally get it. So then at that point, then we could move the Plowhawk up the order. And they're like, we can't do it now. And I'm like, here's my concern. And I feel like this is a move I would make even, like, I don't think twice about it, even though it took money out of my compensation. I was taking that out of it, which obviously impacted me. I was always like, and I feel like it was 100% right. I worried that, okay, it's me, Doug, Iggy, and you doing the show, but all of the production, and therefore all of TMA all day, all of it would have been on you.
Yeah.
And while now people may look at you differently because you've been around for, 4 years and 2 months, I guess, am I right?
Yes.
At that time, you had been around for a year.
Yeah, a year pretty much.
Not even really a year. Right. I mean, when we're making, like, the decision, because we really were, I really was, and I guess all of us were, deciding between staying at KFNS and coming to Hubbard, like in November of 2021. And my concern, specific with, like, the order, there's no way we could bring on the Plowhawk before the cat. Can't do it. But then when the cat got the KFNS opportunity, I'm like, okay, that X amount of, I feel like I'm on the verge of giving out the dollar figure. And even though it isn't like, $1 million or something like that, I don't think I've done. It's neither here nor there. It was a material percentage, though, of my base compensation. But I'm like, I remember talking with Matt Ford, Stratum Structural Systems, longtime advertiser back in the day. And we were having booze, like, for Christmas. And I go, let me ask you a question. I gave back a portion of my base salary today in order for Hubbard to hire Darren Atkins, Peoria Plowboy. And I have some people who are, the people who are aware of it, for lack of a better term, not everybody, who think I'm fucking nuts. And I go, in my mind, it's the absolute right thing to do. And he goes, does it make the show better? And I go, yes. And he goes, well, then you made the right decision for your business.
There you go.
And I go, that's it.
Yeah.
That's it. It's an investment. Yeah. It's an investment. It's not a sacrifice. I didn't go running around telling everybody about it. I think it came up at one point with Scott's Wrinkled Ballsack offering up his wife because I did it, but which was a nice gesture. I'm still more interested in the Sapphic thing. But I was really concerned that you had at the time and still do this trajectory of moving upward, and you come over here and you've got too much on your plate. Plus I didn't know what Balloon Party was going to be, but I knew that was a thing. Yeah. You're running the board. Who runs the board when you're on vacation? Who runs the board when you're sick? Who programs TMA all day? Who handles the live reads? Who handles the commercial breaks? All of that's on you?
Yeah. And tough.
I mean, for real, as great as it would have been for all six of us, and by all six of us, I mean me, you, Iggy, Doug, the cat, and Plowboy to come over here from the get-go, and that would have been wonderful. I mean, the fact that I got, this isn't anything, it wasn't against Iggy, it's just like how many guys you need on this show. Right. You're going to have the biggest staffed show in the building minus the Riz show, and you guys are on HD2. What's...
Right.
So they kind of were at a point where it was, can't do it, man, So the fact that the cat got the KFNS thing, which was good for the cat at the time, because then he knew he had something, even though I'm very confident he would have been over here within the first couple of months because of the money that I thought was going to come over. By money, I mean advertising revenue was going to came over. But they didn't know that, so I understand their, we want to see it before we do it thing. The fact that he got that and then we had the Plowhawk come over for your sanity was probably the best case scenario, as much as it would have been amusing to have the cat back and great for the show from an on-air standpoint. Do you follow me? Does this make sense? Am I talking? So why the fuck am I talking about this anyway? Oh, the Iggy thing. Yeah, so it got to a point in October where after listening to me for 7 months, and you were in on some of these meetings too, and Doug was in on some of these meetings, it got to a point, and I kind of am in hindsight, like I'm surprised they let me make the case as often as I did, because it was, I don't know, it definitely double digits. It got to listen, dude, it can't happen. Maybe it can happen down the road, but it can't happen. We gotta let go of people, and it's an edict from above, and there's nothing that we can do about it. Appreciate your passion for your guy, but it can't happen. And so it kind of like, okay, it sucks. So then it became okay, do I bail? Right. And then just take everything in-house? And then it's like, well, we have an opportunity on 101 ESPN. Let's make that successful, and let's figure out what the future holds. Let's take care of that. In the meantime, I knew that we have something going on with Sound Story, and that's the thing. The day that Iggy got let go, I told him, I said, hey, this is a real thing. It's ongoing as we speak. And I've been texting with Iggy about it, that would be an opportunity for him to have some form of income if he didn't go and do something else. But like I said, but whatever. Do you think I changed anybody's mind with that? I don't know. I mean, it's the truth. I can't control it, but any opportunity I have, if somebody asks about it.
Sure. Yeah, I can confirm. I've been in many a meeting where Tim is doing exactly what I described and campaigning for these things. And yeah, I can tell. And then the thing about like him, I could say a lot of good things about Tim. I'd absolutely be happy too. But like the base thing, like if there was like one thing about Tim, straight shooter. He's blunt, and sometimes that's a big positive. Sometimes it's tough to hear, but it's always straight shooter. You know where you stand. Honesty. That is always the case with Tim. He's never bullshitted me or been some kind of backwards reasoning on telling me something. No. It's always been the straight, honest truth, whether I liked it or not. So that's what I would say to that person's earlier part of their question.
I appreciate that. That's a great compliment. I also know, unfortunately, by you saying that, then you get labeled a whatever kiss ass.
Oh, a gargler.
I've never heard this term.
Yeah.
With like gargling the balls.
Yeah, balls, probably fluid in general.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, general fluid. I want to make two things real quick.
Please elaborate on your gargling of my love.
Not that. I'm not sure if you're done with this question yet, but I have two
there's
things.
more in the email.
Okay, then I'll just do one thing. For a second there, you said, "Why the fuck am I talking about this?" That's another option for a title of this episode. Why the fuck am I talking about
I committed to the emails, and I hadn't been reading them.
Yeah.
We had good ones, so I'm like, all right, fuck it, I'll read them. Let's see. That went wild. Then you tell the story, and people don't believe it because they have their own narrative. Oh, well, so then I guess I just fucked up because I told the story again. But here's the thing. The story would always be consistent because that's the thing.
Right. The truth doesn't change.
Right. It's real easy. Then you tell the people want to believe they are being lied to. Cue the clearly someone is being lied to drop because it supports this pervasive idea that we cannot trust the media. Wow. Again, this is not a you problem. In the years I have listened, it feels like you have been open and honest about everything when you could be. When you couldn't, you outright said you could not be open. But again, if it does not fit the preconceived narrative, then it's a lie. So that's it. That's my opinion. In short, I think some listeners believe they will get the, quote, real story behind your back or from other sources. I agree with that.
That's a good, that right there.
So that's why they don't ask me.
Right. That last sentence was interesting.
But what is that? But here's the thing. I said this about myself. I know I could reach out to John Mazalek.
Mm-hmm.
This is, and again, I feel like I've said this on 101 and said it here. But yet I don't. Now I know we'll talk when we're in Jupiter here in a couple weeks.
Right.
And I'm telling you, we really had, I don't want to say we had a close relationship, but since I'm not down at the ballpark like I used to be, and we haven't been in spring training since 2020, I don't know when the last time, I don't even know when the last time I exchanged text messages with him. I guess the nice thing is I can look it up. Point being, I could get his, perspective on things. Let's see what we got here. 2020. Let's see what we got. It was something for, it was for Edmund's birthday. But I mean, God, going back years. But that's what I'm texting with him about.
Right.
Is a social event.
Right.
And I'm like, I'm sure he listens. I'm sure he also probably wouldn't acknowledge that he listens.
Would agree.
But that's the game, fine. And that might not be fair because people go, I'm sure you read the Reddit thing, and I just don't. I actually am thinking about going in there and just going, okay, here, fine. You hate me, that's fine. But I'll be Bill Maher, Matt Gaetz, Pete Buttigieg, Fox News. You are advising against that in a strong way. You've seen it. I haven't, so I have.
I just don't see the upside seems so minimal, and the psychological damage seems so high.
But the thing is, it's like I've been I don't know.
Different beast.
Is that right? Really? Well, you're talking about this.
Well, once people can just say anything, they're just going to say
the anonymity thing is the thing,
right? And if you're communicating, like being on the text line isn't even the same. Like it's like I said, different beast. But yeah, I mean, shit, you've been dealing with message boards
I don't know.
your whole life.
Yeah,
I don't know if it's much different than that, but oof, yeah.
Is that right?
Oh, I told you I'm missing out on a lot of FIFA tips because I can't be on Reddit.
You and Kurt talk about it like.
It's just
like you haven't seen.
I have so much fun doing TMA. Like I really do. Like it's so much fun, and when we're at our best, I'm so happy doing it. And like for people to have such a visceral reaction to it, like
look what that's about.
Sours my taste.
But you say that goes on with all shows that achieve some modicum of success.
Yeah, 100%.
So
especially ones that with longevity.
Yeah,
that too. Like the Bill Simmons, who obviously I'm a big fan of. His Reddit thread is so toxic, and he's been doing podcasts since like 2007.
I assume he doesn't get involved.
God no. You know what he says whenever someone
he's worth like $100 million or something.
Spotify hooking it up. Whenever he says, he goes, fuck those people. The podcast is free, and I love that. He goes, the show's free. Fuck those people. And I like that.
Yeah, I guess I just have to accept that it doesn't matter what I say.
Yeah.
I guess I don't understand. Well, this person, though, the sentence sums it up. So that's it. That's my opinion. In short, I think some listeners believe they will get the, quote, real story behind your back or from other sources. That's
a good thought.
So then it goes back. So it's like when I sat there with Mazalek in 2018, and I'm like, well, people really want. He goes, well, what questions do they want to hear? And it's just me and him in his office. And I told the story before. Well, they want to know why Lance Lynn's not here and Miles Michael. He goes, well, that's easy. Our numbers say Michaelis is going to have a better year. And I'm like, okay. I mean, that's the thing. It's like
Right. There's not much to say to that.
That's
Unless
it.
you show people the number.
That's it. But it always goes back. So it's like, I just don't know if he's like, I want to have what was the conversation that when the guy from the, were you in here? No, you weren't in here. You thought I was doing a sound story with an open door.
Oh, that's right.
The Business Journal
okay.
writer came in, and he did a hell of a job. Jim Drew's name. That was a great interview. I tip my cap. But I mean, we talked for an hour, and the section is only a handful of answers. But he kept going back to this Bill DeWitt interview, Bill DeWitt III on TMA on 101, and he goes, that was so different because you kind of asked more about his perspective on hearing his dad get criticized, and I go, well, because that's what I'm interested in, not like the game day experience. What are you going to do? I don't know. Fuck off.
More walrus cam.
Yeah, I just like, okay, I don't give a shit. Hey, you guys have done some incredible things for this region, and now your father, not you, because it's tougher when it's family members. Your father is catching shit for being miserly, being out of touch, whatever. Take your pick. And I've been one of the people at the front of the line criticizing the messaging of the organization. How does it feel? Is that tough? Does that make you tune out? What are your thoughts? Does this change your relationship in your mind with Cardinal fans? How that's because I bet this has fucked John Mozeliak up.
Right.
But I bet it would fuck people up to hear John Mozeliak say, yeah, it's kind of fucked me up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It would,
you know what I mean? Like, he's so preemptive strike with some of his self-deprecating humor that it's clearly on his mind. And I don't know. I don't know. I always go back to with the Mozeliak thing. It's like, he doesn't run the place. And I just don't understand. Like, if you have a problem with something and what a manager's doing, and then they keep getting extended, then that's not on the manager unless the manager runs the business. The manager doesn't run the business, doesn't own the business. Are you looking up data, or do you have to piss? What's going on?
No.
Oh, you were leaning in. I'm like, oh, am I going too long?
No.
Okay, all right. I want to finish this email because it was a good email from Nick. In short, I think some listeners believe they will get the real story behind your back or from other sources. I find it amusing because I've yet to hear anyone affiliated with the show have a story different from what you have said. The times that Plowsy or the Cat were furloughed, Iggy's recent layoff, I've not heard anyone even hint that there is more to the story. But some people don't want to believe that. I can tell you, I mean, the Plowhawk, different situation, but the Plowhawk got to come over. The Cat was irritated. I can tell you that. Cat would be the first one to say it. He was irritated that there wasn't a spot for him right out of the gate. And I would say, once again, just if you were sitting here, and fuck, we texted on Friday, the Cat and I, and like I said, we went to lunch, if people want to think I'm making that up, like 2 months ago. But whatever, neither here nor there. He thought, and I understand where he's coming from, I don't think his perspective's wrong, that as kind of an original member of the show, that he should have been brought over from the get-go. And my contention was, you're going to be brought over. I guess in his mind, he wasn't sure he was going to be brought over. And I didn't say anything to anybody about it because up until, I know the dates, December 1st, but I think we got together on like November 29th, me, you, Doug, and Iggy, to like vote on, should we stay at KFNS, should we go to Hubbard? I didn't want it getting out because I knew what we were dealing with at KFNS as far as, the situation there, for lack of a better term, to be very vague intentionally. And so nobody knew about it. That's the way that I try to handle business. And so it caught him off guard, which is why after you, Doug, and Iggy signed, you were standing there with me, and I said, I don't know who I was talking to, but I know you were one of the people. Somebody else was there. It might have been Iggy. Because the Plowhawk probably wouldn't have been there. No. I said, first person I'm going to call. And I think Iggy guessed like Ryan Kelly.
Right.
And I go, that probably is second or third. Jim Hayes, Darren Atkins.
Yeah.
Now, if you think I'm lying, you're welcome to think I'm lying. But the Cat was irritated. But I'm like, the Cat, which I do call him when we're talking. I said, Jackson and Iggy don't have other jobs. You've got another job. But his perspective was I'm not saying he's wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. Fuck, I don't know. But in my mind, I'm like, I know he's going to come over. And then I also knew that I was going to give back what I wound up giving back to get the Plowhawk over here. But then before that happened, KFNS made him an offer to join Cam Jansen and Charlie Marlowe, and it was a sure thing. And I think he was irritated that he wasn't with us from the get-go on this thing. So there's the story on that. It's very consistent. Iggy's thing, you know, I mean, there was a... Yeah, probably going into too much. I don't think I'm speaking out of school. A recent conversation, someone said here in the building, like real recent, who would have thought that, this is somebody not affiliated with the show, that there would be, you know, so much love for somebody who was kind of like not, because they view, if you don't know the show, they view it as like my thing or me and Doug's thing, you know, or me and your thing if they're thinking balloon party. That Iggy would be, you know, and you know, I was in a meeting and I'm like, I can't, I mean, and I put my finger up and one of the people said, yeah, he was on it. He told us month after month after month after month. And I'm like, all right, at least that's been registered. Yeah. The audience can believe I was, you know, get this motherfucker out of here. But here inside the building, it's on the record where I was and where I still am. One last thought. I know that everyone involved has busy schedules. But have you thought about doing a podcast with different eras of TMA? Maybe once a month, you, the Cat, Doug, Iggy, Plowsy get together for a podcast about whatever. Maybe a reunion of the morning grind. It could be something where every other week or once a month you release a show with a different era of the show, getting together, BSing about whatever. Just a thought. Take care. That's from Nick. Nick, that was an outstanding email. Yeah. Glad I went to the emails today. Here's my honest answer. I think one of the reasons why I lost my shit last night is because I'm spread too thin. I have nobody to blame but myself. I had a person here go, hey, at some point you need to start saying no, because I say yes. There's another thing I'm working on in addition to Stupiracy, which I guess we're going to start working on season 2. Another thing after that, in addition to that, TMA and Sound Story, which, you know, my answer to the question, which is a good question, is there has to be something, there has to be a reason for it. You can't just do things just for like hobbies, because, you know, my kids are only 3 and 7 for so long, and that's the thing that I'm like, Jesus, I gotta like get work done here and then close this laptop and that's not turn my phone off, but like pick my ones I respond to, so I can be present for my wife and my kids. I've not done a good job on that. And so that's a great question. And it's not to say that that isn't something that we've talked about. But it wouldn't be something where it would be like, yeah, let's just get together and do that. Because number one, thinking of the other people involved, I wouldn't expect them to come in here and go, yeah, sure, we'll do an hour free of charge. Right. It's a good question. I get it. I would rather do something more regular than something that where you can actually have dollars attached to it as opposed to. But the question's a good one, and I understand that, and I hate to bring it back to business, but everything always does come down to dollars, and I realize people probably listen to the show more as a form of an escape, so when I remind them of the dollars thing, it's not something that they want to hear. Either way, Nick, great email. If I could give out some kind of prize for it, I would do it. All right, let me take a look at the YouTube comments and see if there's anything.
Hold on. I didn't get a conclusion to why you call him Martin.
See, that's the thing. It's nice that you're there for that.
Yeah.
Producer Joe would come in early stages and he'd say, well, Martin.
He would say like,
and it was his way like to be,
yeah, right.
You know, again, I want to use that C word so bad, but I'm holding off to be condescending. I mean,
that's the C word.
I'm thinking of a different C
C
word.
for condescending, another podcast title.
All right, let me scroll through here some Andre Iguodala talk.
Yeah. Retiring his number in San Francisco.
Rick Majerus says, towel says, looking good, fellas. I've got the Biggies sweatshirt on.
Really good.
Let's see. Genuine question. Will you guys be able to have segments like you do for the Blues, focusing more on the doggies once the season starts? Not every day, but maybe we could call and guess for it. That's from St. Louis Dogs 06. It's a great question. I was asked that on the TMA fan page. And here is the, again, blunt, straightforward answer. Jackson, Balloon Party 2022, 2023?
Yeah.
We had Taylor Twelman on.
Sure did.
Great get.
It was awesome.
Sponsored.
Yeah.
Believe Together Credit Union.
TCU.
Yeah. Okay. the 2024 campaign rolls around. Taylor's texting me. He's like, hey, are we going to do it again? I'm like, I think so, but it's got to be sold because he gets paid.
Right.
So Hubbard's not just going to go, oh, okay, that's a good segment. Here's whatever he gets. I have no idea what he gets. Right. It's got to be sponsored. It's absolutely. And people, I think, that's why you don't want to insult people's intelligence. We can't explain the number. Here's the numbers. It's like any other business. If we spend the money, do we at the very least break even? But usually you want some form of a margin on it. Right. So you got to factor, let's say Together Credit Union spends $1,000, and I have no idea.
Sure.
And they pay $1,000 a month, and Taylor makes $1,000 for his calls. These are numbers out of my ass. I'm doing round numbers. Well, then you also have a salesperson, as they should, get a commission on that. So now that $1,000 is less than $1,000, whatever the commission would be. So now you're upside down. So it needs to be at a certain level. It has to be worth Taylor's time. It has to be worth the sponsor's time to get on board. And so if there is not a sponsor for the segment, because somebody's asking out about the dogs, they're asking about Illinois.
Yeah, I saw that.
And I said, even though I know that there's like a circle jerk of rage regarding the Blues guest, that's something that Hubbard had set up as part of their deal with
Carrying the Blues.
Yeah. And then Jeremy Rutherford was sponsored by Mark Hanna, and Gabe DeArmond sponsored by James Carlton. But I think one of the things in the circle jerk of hate rage is that the show is guests, and I'm now a fraud because I said I didn't want guests. I guess that's a thing. Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, I didn't book these. These are sponsored. Yeah. You know, it's not like I'm like, hey, if I can do Balloon Party, I'll get Taylor Twellman because we both went to St. Louis U High. They said, hey, Together Credit Union wants to sponsor something on the doggies. Who do you think would be good? I go, I can reach out to Taylor Twellman. And then we were able to get him. And then Together Credit Union's like, oh, fuck, that's awesome. You got Taylor Twellman. So if there is a sponsor that wants to sponsor it, then that's how these things come to fruition. That's the business. They have a responsibility to monetize the airtime. I understand some people might not like it. Some people might like it. Whatever, that's cool. But that's an explanation of how it works. Because the Illinois guy's like, hey, you have Gabe on. Why not have an Illinois? No problem. James Carlton sponsors it. If you have an Illinois guy on, I agree with his premise because he said, you say that Illinois doesn't get enough coverage in the St. Louis area. And I say, that's 100% how I feel. That's not bullshit. I feel like Illinois should get as much coverage as Missouri, which fucks some people up. But I think it only fucks some people up because it hasn't been done that way for so long.
Look
at you now. You're going to be a little boy
I'm
whore.
not. But St. Louis people.
Fuck off.
No, St. Louis people go to Mizzou more often than they go to Illinois. Illinois is like a really good school. It's tough to get in.
Wow, unbelievable! Insulting the intelligence level of the St. Louis Metropolitan. I can't believe what I just heard from a guy who thought Chris Pronger was a 6'10" forward.
I have a degree from the University of Missouri. I'm making fun of myself. Illinois, that's like a much tougher school to get into than Missouri. I'm just
What's that got to do with anything?
I'm talking about volume. I'm telling you, I think there's a lot more Mizzou fans in the St. Louis area than there are Illinois fans. That's my opinion.
I think you're caught up in the dogma.
I might be. Maybe I am.
I think Illinois fans go, okay, I'm not going to hear any Illinois stuff on St. Louis radio. Chicken and egg, baby. Chicken and egg.
I don't do that.
And either way, you know, the one time a week, if this were to happen, where we had somebody from, you know, Illinois, Kerry Davis is on the broadcast team. Fuck, I'd have Kerry on.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have lost money on betting South Carolina. Why was I betting on a fucking bowl game in the first place?
That's the real question. You should be asking
Jesus,
yourself.
Mary and Joseph. But anyway.
Because you weren't trying to integrate into Instagram and Facebook.
Boy,
you wouldn't have had time for any gambling.
I'm delaying that so I don't.
Going longer.
Let's see. Wow, great job starting late, Jackson. Jackson's Conscience. That's the Frank Haith avatar.
Oh, yeah. What's that guy?
A St. Charles.
Who?
No, that's the name of the person. St.
Name.
Charles. I do miss reading more texts in lieu of going to more YouTube chat comments. Where are the greats? Dirty Chewbacca. Dirty Chewbacca still texts in. Boo Radley's crippling anxiety.
Different name.
Today was I guess, like a lot of the 101 people who weren't familiar with TMA, they caught on today and they started getting the names.
Right.
'Cause I guess they're like, how come I don't get read? And if I only have so much time to look down at the text inbox and I see something from a name that I know is usually bringing good material, that's how you get read.
Yeah.
But somebody might text in 314-636.
Yeah, you look like you're just another face in the crowd.
I don't have the time to scroll through them all.
Well,
so having a name is beneficial.
So that person just referenced a couple of names. Like, people change their names.
They do, don't they?
I've heard people be like, I hate this fucking texter. Where are the great textures like this? And it was the same person. It was just the name had changed. It was the same person that they were referencing.
The starter packs analogy of TMA and the Saturday Night Live cast.
By the way, Netflix just added the Saturday Night movie with
Yes,
Jason Reitman.
and Anna Marie and I just watched the first 2 episodes of the thing on Peacock.
Right, the 50th.
I thought the one that
anniversary
was most interesting was on the Riders. We're not done with it because I pass out from my sleeping pills, but the Riders, which I think is episode 3 of it.
Got it.
And the process that goes
Al
on.
Franken probably being.
Oh, so you haven't watched it?
Uh-uh.
No, I mean he's interviewed, but he's certainly not like a focal point. I mean, it's a lot of like you actually see the current process and how brutal that would be. Ooh. I mean, to come up with like I would watch my brother do improv, and he's got the improv shop down in the Grove, and I'm like, TMA's improv, but it isn't that improv. I couldn't do that.
It has to be FCC approved,
Yeah.
beforehand. That's a big part of the movie.
Yeah.
That's a big part of the movie.
Oh, is that right? Oh, yeah. They do interview the lady who's compliance.
Yes, and she is featured heavily in the movie.
Oh, is that right?
And let's say that she's not viewed.
Not popular?
Not with Michael O'Donoghue.
Okay, I
Dan
got to watch
Aykroyd,
this. What's the name of that one?
Saturday Night.
Saturday Night. And where is it? Where can I find that?
Netflix.
Okay, thank you. Is that the one that's on now, or is there a different Saturday Night thing?
That is the movie about the 90 minutes leading up to the first episode of Saturday Night.
And that's on Netflix now.
That's on Netflix. It's a feature film.
Got it. Okay, thank you. We'll have to watch
Cousin
that.
Greg plays both Jim Henson and Andy Kaufman.
Jackson with the rare double mic cube. Oh, you're holding. Okay, I didn't. This is what happens when I'm an hour behind the YouTube comments. That's how I started listening. Balloon Party started it all. Yeah, that's the. I feel like for the old school TMA listener, they don't. Some might. I don't want to say they. That's not fair. Some may not recognize the importance of Balloon Party to the 101. Move, for lack of a better term. Because as time went on, credit to you, truly credit to you. I don't know what the fuck I would have done if you wouldn't have come up with the questions. I don't even know how that happened. I just knew you knew what got me going, and so you knew how to tap into that. Because I couldn't have gone in there every day, and so that got it going. And then they're like, "Oh wow, look at what Balloon Party's doing, this thing," and then that got the 101 conversation going. But it's not like I came here and I'm going, God, I hope I can get on 101. Being blunt, I couldn't have cared any less. I just want to do the show. That's all I care about. But I think for some TMA listeners, they don't realize how many people, number one, listen to 101, because in order to find TMA, you had to know it was on HD2. Then you had to be able to figure out finding it, or you had to download the app, or you had to find. In other words, you had to know where it was.
Entry.
Absolutely. And so now with both Balloon Party and now TMA, even more so, you have a bunch of people going, "What the fuck is this?" And this thing's been on 21 years, and I didn't even know it existed. Right. And now they're catching on, and that's what I think today was kind of yet another.
Yeah. This guy doesn't even know where Pronger played.
This guy's a real
this is where I want to
asshat. Absolutely. Let's see. I do still miss the quantity of drops and the randomness of drops, as well as going to texters more often with this new TMA. Yeah, I have to. Well, I'll agree with this. Let me finish. I've learned to tolerate all the blues talk. Yeah, again, I think that's a talking point in the bubbles, but I'm just picking up reads.
I have to imagine.
Are people under the impression that I'm like, hey, let's go to 101 and do blues interviews?
I don't think that they think you were so jovial about it, but
it's just like, so again, so then the choice becomes, I try to lay this out, because I always want to hear, well, what would you have done? Because there are two choices. Yeah, I guess three.
That's when they're going to log off Reddit, by the way, is when you bring that up. So prepare for that.
So I guess there's three. I could have just quit.
Right.
And just focused 100% on Sound Story. I mean, I could have done that. And hell, I'll be honest with you, that could wind up happening at some point. That's a real thing. I don't know how likely it is. It's got percentages though of allocation. So that's a real thing. But the choices were take it all in house or go to 101. That's it. HD2 was not an option. And with 101 were the blues interviews. And some people love them, some people don't like them. I understand that. I'm not going to act like I'm not aware of it. What is incorrect, however, is that you said you never wanted to do blues interviews, and now you're doing blues interviews. I don't know what would you have done? Would you have gone, fuck it, I have a 5-year contract on the table, and I could be on 101 ESPN. The guys I'm working with Doug in particular, I'm not, we all were talking about it, but like, yeah, we can always just do it in-house. Why not do one-on-one when it's on the table? Which to me makes a lot of sense. Or I can go, I can't do it. Everything's good. I appreciate the 5-year contract. I know there's probably like 30 of those in the United States for sportscasters. But this Blues interview thing at 8:15, that's the non-starter. Really? My attorney and my representative would have gone, all right, it would have been the same thing that happened in 2007 when I called my agent to tell him I wasn't going to SNY. And he started like, he started screaming. But not screaming like mad at me, screaming like, you gotta be fucking kidding me. You're never gonna leave St. Louis. My wife told me not to take you back after you didn't go to Denver last year, and now you're not gonna go to New York. You're not going to go to New York. He goes, everybody on my roster would take this job. You're not going to take it. I don't even know what to say. That's what it was. That would have been Tommy if I would have said, I appreciate it. Lovely sentiment, the 5-year deal. Kind gesture. However, the Blues interviews.
I'll be in the cold, hard ground before I talk to that fucking Vitale every Friday.
Thank you. Thank you for taking my side on that zipper scandal.
That's what happened.
I just don't understand. So if somebody, I guess this is why, so email Jessie Kiowski. I guess she's the conduit.
Yeah, liaison.
Here's what you would have done differently. Feel free. Maybe maybe there was a putt out there that I missed that I should have hit. I don't know what to tell you. Let's see. Probably would have made the baseball team at Roosevelt, though. I would agree with that. Thank you, Justin Sampson.
Starting third sack.
No, second base. I have a good
arm. Well, but didn't you have the? I don't want to say the word, but
yips.
You said it. So, like, you would ground the ball and like the panic.
I don't even know how it started, but it was an easy ground ball, easy to field. It was going 30 feet over the first baseman's head, or it was going straight into the ground on the throw over.
Would you be better like if you played short? Don't you think you would? Because like the second base throw can get it's a little weird.
Yeah, I mean Steve Sachs and Chuck Knobloch weren't shortstops or third baseman.
No, they're second base. But that's what I'm saying. Is like they moved to second.
And then I remember there was a game, and one of the rare times I had multiple. I mean, that was no good. And that's like, whoa, hold on a second.
Right.
But I had a diving play to my right, and I think I tagged the base with my glove for a 4-U-3 double play,
nice.
And the throw from my knees was perfect. Yeah. Why? Because I didn't have time to think about it. That's it.
Right. That's the problem with when you're ground, especially the easier the ground ball.
That's why maybe as time went on, I've became fascinated by games/sports that were more mentally oriented because poker and golf. Yeah. Because if you knew that somebody had a spot, you could.
It's a different kind of skill,
right?
In a way
that can get in their head, you know.
Totally.
And I feel like I could be off the mark on this. I feel like that is why games like poker and golf become like a dick tracing contest for guys who have, money that they just, it doesn't matter. But they're playing for a $10 an asshole. Like, who gives a fuck? Yeah. But they're over a 3-foot putt.
Yeah, it's like aggro chess.
Because it's just what they want to prove. I mean, this is so fucking reptilian.
Yeah.
But they want to prove that they can handle the quote-unquote pressure, which in the whole scheme of things, think how many times, like if you were to be at the range and whatever club gives you the most problems, and then think about that over, the same shot in some form of whatever competition. And are you going to be the same guy? And the guy who can be the same guy is the guy who's most likely to be successful. That's why up until last year, and now he's probably going to go off, Xander Schauffele. I'm like, oh, Xander Schauffele's sleeping on a lead. Here we go. It's going to be, and it was. And then he finally broke through. What did he break through? What was his first? He won the British and he won the PGA. So
PGA, the one that was at
what was the U.S. Open last year?
The U.S. Open? That would have been U.S. Open winner.
Darnell Coles.
Darnell Coles. Because Scotty went in. Scotty got arrested. No, Scotty got arrested at PGA. Oh, Bryson. Bryson won U.S. Open.
Thank you. Oh, yeah. That was
Rory
a great fucking U.S. Open.
Didn't shut the bed.
It was an outstanding U.S. Open, too.
It was great.
That's an all-timer.
What's the club in your bag that gives you the most trouble?
Like a 4-iron?
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing.
But, I mean, how many people hit 4-irons?
I haven't flushed, I haven't flushed out 4-iron since Obama was in office.
Yeah. I mean, the most people, I don't know. I mean, that's that kind of separates the men from the boys. Yeah. The misnomer, and I'm guilty of saying it, is, okay, 100 yards and in and the putts, but it really is distance and approaches, and but nobody wants to hear that because you kind of can't control it. At some point, your ceiling is capped.
Cat Williams. I don't necessarily agree with everything he says. Cat Williams, but he did say
the comedian.
Correct. He loves golf.
Is that right?
Loves
Holy
golfing.
shit! I was wondering how we were getting there. I was like, oh, here, snort some of my Ritalin.
Loves golf. He was on Shannon Sharp's podcast.
DJ Khaled needs to go away, by the way. Speaking of randoms who love golf, what is going on with that?
Yeah,
they finally took him off TGL last night. I understand. I didn't get a chance to watch it because I was with my son cheering for the Canucks and Blues.
John Rothstein was all pissed.
Freaking out like a fucking asshole on the ride down there.
John Rothstein was all pissed because they were playing TGL over Duke, NC State. I saw him go, he's all banty as all hell. He was like quoting some Victorian thing. I didn't know what it was. Regardless, Cat Williams said, loves to play golf, and Shannon Sharp asked, do you play from the tips? And he goes, I don't really see the point in that. He goes, you don't get anything for playing from the tips. He's like, on the course, don't ask me my pronouns when I'm playing on the course because I'm going to be up at the ladies' tees.
That's a good answer.
He goes, it seems like a scam where you have to play further back and you don't get anything for it. And I was like, yeah, the logic is pretty sound there.
This, I would hope that people know it's not, but again, I can't control it, so whatever. So fuck off. When I would play, Edmonds and I would play, I think this was 2019 spring training. And Edmonds, it's not like I was great then, but I was better than Jim. I think he would acknowledge that. It kind of like made him uncomfortable, but it's not like I was great. Right. It's just like he's,
right. Did he make you
probably a Hall of Famer, and I'm, what I am. But he would go, let's play the tips. And I'd go, what do we gain? But here was his reasoning. I'm like, this is the Edmonds sports wizardry that makes no sense when you like listen to him go, oh, bang BP, it's too hot. But this is how he goes, well, then the bunkers won't be in play because we're so far back. I'm like,
okay, fairway bunkers.
I got to tell you, I mean, if you're thinking of it just solely through the tee shot lens, by definition, you're right.
Sure.
Now, if we play like the Blues or the Whites, they're probably going to be in play. So, yes, I will be short of. We also are adding about 1,000 yards onto the course. The course was tough enough as it was, and then he would bail, usually around the 11th or 12th hole, because he'd get so irritated with himself.
Maybe you shouldn't be fine.
And then, like my wife, and at the time, his wife would be out there riding along with us, and I'd just start driving in, and my wife would go, "You guys done?" And I go, "Yeah, Jim hit 3 in the water, and he's."
I like to imagine though him making you do like 100 throws from second just to even out the competitive balance of it all.
Oh, when I had the ground balls at that fantasy camp, like we're going back to this. I made the throw though, but I'm dead serious. Like I can feel my palms sweating for a ground ball to second base, not because of fielding it. That was fine,
right?
But the throw, I'm like, oh my god! And here are these guys like that I covered.
Yeah, right.
It's
time to get your comeuppance.
Oh my god. And they couldn't wait. And if I couldn't make the throw from second base, what was I going to say? Yeah. Like, this fucking ghost is still with me 27 years later. That's what it would have been. Oof. And I'm like, I guess I'm just going to have to, like, if Ray Langford, I chased down at Bristol down the street when he was hiding out one day, he would have loved it. He would have loved it if we would have gotten that.
Yeah. Your comeuppance. Have I ever told the M&M's in the outfield story that I had from a couple years ago?
Mm-mm.
I feel like I have. My brother invited me to play softball when I was like a senior in high school to like fill in for one of his teams, and I eventually like played the whole year, and I got stuck in right field because I'm no good,
right.
And the whole year no one hit the ball out to right field. Like literally 8 games, no one, maybe like a ground ball got through, and I had to pick it up.
Yeah.
So I brought a bag of M&M's out.
Oh, you started getting comfortable.
Yeah, I brought a bag of M&M's out to the last game. And it got to the point where they really weren't hitting it towards me. So I start eating the M&Ms with my glove off. I used to have like my glove on and like shovel them in with the glove. I ate them with the glove off. And all of a sudden, it was a righty up. So I was like, yeah, we're fine. Oppo, big hit too. I was like, oh, fuck. I was like, this is coming right towards me. Like I have one hand is M&Ms and I was funneling them into my other hand and eating them. So I did not have time to get my glove on. So I dropped the M&Ms, probably lost most of those. Couldn't put my glove on, so I tried bare hand catching it. And it hurt like a motherfucker. So I drop it and throw it in. And I like almost like my brother was a pitcher. I almost like didn't like want to look out. Like I was like, can I just like run to my car from here? And I look at my brother is staring at, and he's 10 years older than me, so he kind of has like a fatherly relationship sometimes. Most of the times he's just like one of my best friends, but sometimes he could be, a father in a way. And I felt like shit.
Was he angry or was he just dumbfounded?
Furious. He was furious.
And this is baseball.
Yeah, because he's like essentially softball. Like he's like putting his neck out, putting me on the team. And I mean, it's a co-ed softball.
And you're out there enjoying.
But it's the bare minimum is to have your glove on.
That's outstanding.
You got to have your glove on. Like if I had been eating M&Ms.
I wish I could have seen it.
Oh my God, he was so furious. I almost made the catch too, but it hurt really bad. And I didn't want to tell him. I was like, Jess, my hands really hurt, man.
I don't recall that story.
Yeah, maybe I haven't told it. But yeah,
guys, the Riz Show had to shut down their YouTube chat for a little while. I know that it happened. I don't know if it's back up. Obviously, we're on at the same time. The Reddit is a cesspool. Anything defending the show immediately gets you accused of ball gargling.
There it is, gargling balls.
I don't know. Should I go on there and just, okay, here I am.
But if you
have at it. You guys can keep your anonymity. I know that's important to you.
Yeah. You have my blessing, but
I'll
not like,
but I don't know. I mean, I extended the offer. This guy had to be a Redditor. I mean, no way he wasn't. I'm just like, where are you coming up with this stuff? Yeah. And he goes, answer these 5 questions.
It'd be really funny if you went in there and said, "Hi, I'm Tim McKernan. Do any of you know how to integrate Shopify into Instagram and Facebook?"
This.
You guys help me out.
As you know, I've had Jim Hayes and Ken Strode terminated. My next quest is to integrate Shopify and Instagram.
Yeah.
The 101 chat is basically empty nowadays. Most have made their way to the TMA YouTube chat. Okay, so I don't know where the YouTube thing is, where it goes on. I have no idea.
I think it's fine.
Are there accounts that are blocked that talk shit?
I've never blocked. I've never blocked an account on YouTube.
I don't know. So I don't know what YouTube chat.
There's no point because if you block an account, they just make a new Gmail account.
Right. Is that the deal?
Yeah, 100%.
Jackson's Conscience says the TMA chat comments just aren't as good as the worst texters were. Texters were gold. This is a romanticizing the past. Jackson's Conscience. I don't know what to say. So specific to. I would when we were in this studio doing TMA, I would do live reads and I would read texts, and that's essentially, and I was the traffic cop, and it just wasn't really stimulating. So as time went on, my favorite shows in order were the Tim McKernan Show podcast, Balloon Party, and TMA. And I know that may fuck some people up, but I keep pointing to this. I said to Jackson before the announcement, I said, the current show that everybody bitches about is about to be romanticized as being the good old days, because I've lived through this before. I used to read people bitch about Jim Hayes all the time, then he gets furloughed/fired, and then Jim Hayes becomes the second coming of whomever. It's how it works. Whoever wasn't on the show, the Saturday Night Live cast thing, you become a god. And I'm not saying... Again, it's a good thing that people get that invested in it, but sometimes things are as simple as they don't have the money.
Yeah.
The business changed. They're selling the station, KFNS situation, whatever it is. There just isn't like, I don't know. I guess I wish I was as conniving as I'm thought to be. I would be doing a hell of a lot more with myself. This might be my favorite St. Louis-based podcast/YouTube show. Well, how about that?
Hell yeah.
How about that?
Who's that from?
That's from Toy Maltese Mafia family.
Nice. I don't understand your name at all, but God bless.
Yeah, that's a lovely thing. I love doing it, I can tell you that.
Yeah.
I was planning on leaving at 12:15, and it's now 1:09. I just can't help myself. Yeah. The picture of Matt Gaetz when he got a little too much Botox is fantastic. That's from MD 2020. I don't know if I've seen that.
No, I prefer Giuliani and his hair dye as he's sweating.
Oh, boy, that was tough.
Or in front of Four Seasons landscaping.
That was tough. That was tough.
He had an ice cold 2 months there.
Does anyone know if Doug's press conference is going to be watchable? Yeah, we're past
Happened
that.
An hour ago.
and the non-ling has been sending me updates. I can't wait to read what went on. Can someone give me some locks for SLU VCU game tonight? Going to the game. I got nothing for you. You got anything?
Smoked fish. No, I got nothing.
Cash me out, boys. I don't know what that means. Any update on the gambling pod? I didn't know that I had talked about it. I didn't know. But I guess I can. I don't know. I don't know why I wouldn't be able to. We did a dry run, for lack of a better term, and it was outstanding. So I don't know when it will start airing. I don't know if it'll be for next football. I don't know how they're going to do it, but we did a dry run last week, and it was outstanding. Like I go into them and I kind of go, oh, I don't know how it'll go, and then we did it, and I'm like, oh, that was actually pretty good. Then but I didn't even know that I had talked about it. Obviously, I had because MD 2020 is asking about it. Tim, thank you so much for the hookup with James Carlton. I am now a new customer, and you were right on point with the amazing service and money savings. You have made me a hero with the wife. That is my pleasure. Thank you so much. That's from Harry Wade. Yeah, James Carlton, one of the sponsors of this podcast. I'm not joking around about it. I get the exact thought process I'm sure plenty of you have had, which is I just don't want to go through the hassle of probably not even switching to James. You're going, I don't want to have to fire my insurance agent.
Yeah.
I understand that. It's 5 minutes at the most of uncomfortability. When I did it, the guy came back at me and started kind of motherfucking me.
Is that right?
Yeah, it was unbunbelievable.
Ooh.
It was, I was like, whoa.
Wow. Took it personal?
And I'm like,
that in itself is a sign.
well, sure, but I mean, but I don't know. Hey, what's better for my wife and children?
It's business, not personal.
And James Carlton, and I couldn't be happier that James approached me 8 years ago, almost at this point, to advertise on the Tim McKernan Show podcast, which then led to TMA, and I think James would reciprocate that the return on investment he's gotten through the shows. Let's see. So anyway, carltoninsurance.net, 314-961-4800. All right, let me see. Anything else in here? Jackson, Bob does Sports Taco Challenge. You and Iggy versus Tim and Doug with KG filming. Would this be gold?
No. Eating challenges, I don't think would be our bag.
Okay.
I think Doug would have
I don't know what it is, so
Tim would have 2 or 3. Iggy would have 2 or 3. I'd have 4. And no, I don't think eating challenges are for us.
Bag skate happening at Blues practice. Brandon Saad on waivers. How about that?
Ooh, that's only a good bag skate.
Yeah, I saw the non-link texting me something about Saad.
So he's on waivers?
So he's on waivers. I mean, that was I do have to say my football picks, but I know that I don't really know the NFL like I know college football. I was on point on those with the Eagles blowout and the Chiefs and Bills being a high-scoring game. But fuck, who knows? I mean, that's whatever. That's not. There was no doubt in my mind that something was going to happen today with the Blues, or at the very least before they left for Denver. That's the kind of thing. That would be like an Axe Capital move. Let me get action on that. I happen to be right on the NFL games this past weekend on all 4 plays as far as the team inside or total. But, it's not like I'm like, oh, I think I got this figured out. But the Blues, I knew that. I thought somebody would be put on waivers, traded, Armstrong press conference, whatever. That once that happened last night, something was happening. So Saad's the guy. I can't wait to listen to the Armstrong thing. Let's see. Anything else? If you think Mo listens to the show, and you texted in the past, but not since 2020, that any further conversation between the two of you would be awkward moving forward since it's been so long. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know on that. It's a good question from Dan in the YouTube chat. It shouldn't be because my criticisms aren't personal. Like, if you're personal, that's a different deal. My criticism, I would sit right there with him and say, I don't get what you guys have been doing. But I disagreed with it, which is how the answer that came, and this is obviously before you were on the show, Jackson, are you not entertained, came from. Because I'm like, people are really unhappy. Are you not entertained? Is everything all right?
No, sorry. Sometimes ESPN is a little liberal
okay.
in terms of breaking news.
I need to win.
Well, no. I've been tracking the Butler story.
So I don't expect. I mean, if it is, that'd be kind of weird because it's not. If anything, I think I say I like John Mozeliak. Mm-hmm. I just don't get what they're doing. And I also, if you want to put it on somebody, and I always say, I think Bill DeWitt's going to go down as one of the greatest owners in St. Louis sports history. It's the owner. I think though that's me projecting. That in some of our situations, one person would catch the blame, and I'd be like, "How are you not catching on that?"
Yeah. But I think it's an important point to make. But yeah, I think there's a little bit.
You think I'm projecting? Do you think I'm projecting?
Not. I don't think you're 100% projecting. I think you are pointing out something that is important. But I think there might be a touch of projection.
Yeah, but I mean that is the truth. If you're unhappy with John Mozeliak, there's a guy, at least one guy, if not two, above him.
Right.
So I don't get it. I really, truly don't.
On terms of people complaining about spending, yes. I think talent evaluation, that can fall.
Okay, right. But what do we hear more about? It's the spending, which is just so factually fucked up.
Right.
And so I can't engage with something that's not true.
Right.
They spend above they had up until this year, above their revenue. But the issue is they spent it terribly.
Yeah.
That's the issue.
Right.
But the whole thing that gets people going is if you talk about how they're cheap.
Yeah.
I'm just like, I can't do that. It's kind of like being a takesmith. It's like I could tweet and, build up some followers, but then I'm doing something that I think is, I don't want to be disingenuous.
Yeah.
I don't know. It goes back to my moral compass. All right, I'm just going to land the plane here. There's probably a bunch more. Tim looks like Dustin Pedroia. It's from John Scores. So I look like Justin Pedroia.
Tough to tell. I don't know what Dustin Pedroia looks like outside
Yeah,
my
I
head.
don't
And I really
know.
don't even feel like looking it up.
Jackson's checked out.
He's probably just like a
Good
bald
enough.
guy, and therefore he looks like Tim. I guess.
Let's see. If you moved over to the left side of the field. Okay, people are just talking. All right, time to. Sounds like none of the young guys are going to get brought up. Army wants to see what Sexier can do. I'd be interested to get Jackson's thoughts on who he'd like to see. Nicely done.
I don't even know what position Brandon Saab played.
He was a forward just up there with Pronger.
So he played defense.
No, he was a forward.
He was a forward?
Yeah.
All right, bringing someone up. Who gives a shit? Bring someone else up.
Well,
Texier,
probably a healthy scratch, Frenchman. Probably a healthy scratch will be getting some action now.
Robbie Fabry?
Probably Robbie Fabry.
He was a healthy scratch a lot towards the end, wasn't he? I don't know.
Who did he get traded to? I feel like you might know something about Robbie Fabry, so I'm actually not going to play this.
Plowhawk sold a pube of his,
I did.
which I think violates a couple laws. Toronto?
Yeah, I mean, at least he got a city with a team.
You think
Detroit.
I was going to guess what?
Wingy,
Dayton?
wingy. He would be out at Normandy playing sometimes.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Is he American or is he Canadian?
I actually don't know on that one.
I feel like the safe guess is say Canadian, but
I really don't know.
felt like
on
I thought
that
he
one.
was. I felt like
He's
him.
Canadian.
Okay, maybe him and Scotty Upshaw. I know was close friends with Chris Long, and they would go to Coachella together. So I know a little about him. I don't know hockey. People know my thoughts.
And what are those?
Doesn't do it for me at all. I truly I don't like watching it. It's not like I don't have I'm nonplussed. I don't like it.
I can't tell you how much I love watching playoff hockey.
And playoff hockey's a little different. If my team,
So different.
Blues, for me, I'm talking about for me.
I mean, it's the. I think if playoff hockey though took place in October and November, I might not like it as much.
Sure.
Because for me, subconsciously, it correlated with the weather warming up and this fucking shit that's been going on. We've been in permafrost for the month in St. Louis.
It's been brutal. My feet haven't been warm in what feels like a month.
I mean, but anyway, I correlate it with that. Just like I think that's why I love the Masters because the weather's going to warm up. This crap's over. Anyway, we got to go. Thank you to our sponsors, James Carlton, Carlton State Farm Insurance Agency. Somebody want to log in and help me get into Shopify and Instagram. I got to go do that. Thank you to James Carlton. Thank you to Seth Goldcamp, Design Air Heating and Cooling. Thanks to Jamie Burkhardt, Peter Munganest, and Ryan Seiberg in the Service Department, Munganest, St. Louis Acura, Munganest, Burkhardt, Alton Toyota. And thank you to Mark Hanna, Evergreen Wealth Strategies, online at evergreenstl.com. For Jackson Burkett, I'm Tim McKernan. This has been the Tim McKernan Show podcast.